Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Srini here. And this is the next continuation video of a previous video which we had started. That's on loops in JavaScript. So if you're new to this channel, please do consider subscribing to it and hit the bell icon to get notifications. And you can also check out my other channel, which is on coding from scratch. Okay, let's get started today's topic. So we're going to look at the different types of loops in JavaScript, which is if condition, if else if, while loop, do while loop, and for loop. Now in for loop, there are certain more extra flavors in JavaScript as compared to Java. So we will look at those as well in our future session. But today we'll focus on the different other types of loops, that is if, else, and all that, right? So let's get started with today's topic on the coding part. We had already created this file on if condition in our last session. So we'll continue from here. Now, what if I want to introduce multiple conditions? So I can also introduce else if here. And I can say if v2 greater than v1, then I would say v2 is greater than v1. And then else, I can also say v1 equal to v2. So this is basically an equality operator. If you want to compare if both the values are same, you can use this double equal to symbol for comparison. And I can simply say v1 is equal to v2 because it's neither greater than, neither it is less than. So that means it's going to be equal to. So I'm going to put here is equal to v2. Okay. And just I wanted to show you all how we can use a condition check for equal to, but we don't need else if here because it's obvious in this scenario that it's going to be going into the else condition, right? Because there is no other condition possible in this current scenario. Either it can be lesser, it can be greater, right? v1 can be greater than v2, it can be lesser than v2, or it has to be equal to v2. That's all. So there are only three possible results here. So I'm going with via this particular kind of combination. So this what we are looking at is called as if else if, and else. So this is the kind of looping structure we are seeing initially here, right? Now the same thing, if we want to, let's say, try to do in kind of a other kind of a thing, right? We want to look at other type of loop. Let's say, for example, the second type of loop which we have is while. Now what while does is a bit different than if. If just checks like a condition, but while is like an actual loop. So it would basically like, let me introduce a variable here as counter equal to 1. Okay. So while counter, I'm putting a condition here as less than 10. Means I've put a condition here that while this counter is less than 10, okay, sorry, it's not integer, it's let, right? So while this counter is less than 10, I would want to do certain action. Let's say console.log. I want to print it. So I would say counter number equal to, and I'm just going to give the counter variable printed. That's all, which I want to do, right? So what this is supposed to do, this piece of code is supposed to run how many number of times? It started with 1, right? So 1 to 9, it's going to run 9 number of times, right? Because as soon as this counter gets incremented by 1, so after the statement, I can say counter equal to counter plus 1, okay? Just so that you all understand, I'm just putting it in this kind of a way. But there are some shortcuts to also make it incremented automatically. But I'm going via the shortcut way here. I mean, by the proper way here, counter equal to counter plus 1. Okay. This can also be written like this, just for your knowledge for now. This is called post increment operator, but we will look at it in detail later on, but just for your information, right? So we are incrementing the counter variable and then it's going to check again for the condition. So what's going to happen is it's going to check with the variable value. It is equal to 1. It's going to then check for this condition. Is 1 less than 10? Yes. So it's going to come inside this loop. It's inside this construct, right? This scope. And it's going to execute whatever statements are present. And after that, it's going to execute this last statement, which is going to increment the counter by 1, right? Once the counter is incremented by 1, again, it's going to check. So in this case now, it's going to check whether 2 is less than 10. Again, the condition is satisfied. And again, it's going to go inside this while loop. Likewise, this is going to keep on getting continued. So it's going to keep continuing like this till it's equal to 9. And again, it executes this. And afterwards, when we increment counter equal to counter plus 1, it becomes 10 less than 10, which is not satisfied here. And it comes outside the loop, right? So what we are going to do is let's just execute this program and let's see the output of if and this while. Okay, let's run it. And as we discussed in the last session, we can directly run it using this arrow mark. Let's run the code and let's look at the output. V2 is greater than V1. Why? Because V2 is 20, V1 is 10. And afterwards, what we have got output is 1 to 9. We have not got counter equal to 10 because during that time, the condition won't be satisfied. So it will come outside the while loop. The third type of loop which we are going to discuss is do while. Okay. Do while, as the name suggests, do something while the condition holds true. So let's go for some other example. So let's say while flag. Okay. And I'm just setting a flag equal to true here. And okay, this is another type of variable. So this is like a Boolean variable here. What I'm storing here, the value is a Boolean value rather than a number. I'm storing a Boolean value as true or false. So I can give it as true here. So while this particular flag is having a value true, this is going to execute. This loop is going to execute. As soon as the condition is not satisfied, we are going to come outside of this particular loop. That's what this thing is doing. So let's say here, for example, console.log. Okay. And I'm just going to do a simple check here that if, let's say, for example, let's take a variable here. Let's say number equal to 10. If number, let's say, for example, if number is less than or equal to 10. Okay. So since it's a condition, I have to put it within the parenthesis. If number is less than or equal to 10, basically what we want to do is we want to set the flag equal to false, for example. Okay. So maybe I need to change a bit here. So let me say here, if number is greater than 10, okay, then I'm going to set the flag equal to false. So what I'm actually doing is initially the number is going to have value 10. It's going to check here, is 10 greater than 10? It's not true. The flag, so basically it's not true. It's not going to go inside this if condition block, right? It's going to come outside. Fine. Now what I'm going to do here is console.log. I'm just going to print number. And yeah, that's all I want to print right now. Number. And then I'm also going to print maybe how many number of times it has basically, reached here. So for example, let me have another variable, let's say count equal to 0, right? So I'm going to say here as count plus 1, okay, count plus 1. And let me say for now, I'm removing this number. So I'm just saying here count plus 1 th time, okay? So till this number of time, this basically has been printed. First time, second time, like that. We're just putting this th time, right? And after that, what's going to happen is at the end of it, we are just going to increment the count by 1. So as soon as not the count, I mean to say the number, not the count, the number we are going to increment by 1. So as soon as the number becomes 10 plus 1 equal to 11, what would happen here? If number 11 is greater than 10, it's going to set the flag equal to true. But here it has already came inside the do while. So it is going to execute the other statements also. So count is going to be here 1 plus 1, that is second time it's going to print. And then once we reach to this particular value, right, here what would happen is, so here we're setting the flag equal to false, right? Since 11 is greater than 10, we will set the flag equal to false. And that means after the second loop iteration, it's not going to go inside the do again because while flag has become false because 11 was greater than 10, right? That's all what we are going to do here. And that's it. Let's run this program and let's see what all we are getting as the output. So you can see here, okay, it has not printed it once time, it has printed 2 times, that's correct. But I'm just checking why the count value has not got incremented. So here we are saying count plus 1. Okay, instead of this, I can also say count plus plus, or I can say plus plus count because it will initially increment it and then it will print it. Yeah, let's run it one more time. Yeah, now it's printed correctly. So as you can see here, it has printed first time and then second time, right? And this we are doing till this condition holds true. As soon as condition holds false, it will come outside the do while loop. So this is the third type of loop, what we have seen so far in this session. And I'll just introduce you all one more type of loop, that is for loop. A very basic one will start in the session. And the next one, which will be a little advanced topic in terms of JavaScript, we will look at into the next session. So for this, what the syntax goes like this, we have to say for, start the parenthesis, then say let I, okay, maybe you have to give a value here, let's say 1. Then you have to say I less than 10. So it's not comma, it's semicolon. And I plus plus. Okay, fine. And then you have to say console.log number is I. And say here I equal to 1, I less than 10, and I plus plus. A very pretty simple, straightforward syntax. If you have already worked on Java, you would know there is no difference for loop in terms of Java and JavaScript. Only thing that we are writing the statement for printing as console.log rather than using system.out.println, right? And still the syntax is also same, concatenation operator, right? For those who are completely new to JavaScript or Java, this is the syntax which we are following. So first part is going to be the declaration of the variable with a value. So it's like declaration and initialization. Okay, there is another way I'll show that as well. That means you can also do this way. Let I can just declare here outside the for loop, right? And you can simply initialize the value here. This is also accepted, same like Java. This is how we can also do it. But for now, I'm just commenting out this part and just keeping it this way. And the second portion is going to be the condition check, which is going to run this loop till this condition holds true. And the third part is going to be the increment or the decrement operator. So this is called the post increment operator, by the way. So when we say I plus plus, this means post increment operator, means you use the value of I for your execution here. And once this particular thing is done, the statement is executed, then you increment as soon as the statement is done, you increment the value of I by 1. So it will become I plus plus. So for the next time when you come inside, the number would have been incremented by 1. So that is how this for loop works, right? And there is another type of for loop. I mean, it's again same as in Java, but I just wanted to show you that as well. Let I colon, okay, and we can just give it like a type actually. Like I would say, let I be, what is a type here? So we don't mention the type in case of JavaScript. Yeah, so we don't give a type here in JavaScript. So otherwise in Java, we mention the type here and then we try to do that. So we'll not go that much into deep of that for loop. What we are planning to do is that after this particular for is understood, there is a very advanced thing which you need to know, that is for off loop in JavaScript. For off loop is there, for in loop is there. Okay, we will look at both of them, and for which type of it is applicable, we will cover that. But this will be little later. Okay, so because they are applicable to certain entities like objects, arrays, etc. So these advanced topics, once we reach, right, then I'll be covering these topics of for, off, and for in loop. For the time being, you can just understand that these are the different types of looping constructs which we are having, and we will cover the switch statement in the next session. So thank you so much for attending my video, and please do like and subscribe and share with your friends if you like it. Thank you so much.